Roll Tobin for Boxing News, joined by Eddie Hearn. We are in the immediate aftermath of Juan Francisco Estrada's loss to Bam Rodriguez. Eddie, great night tonight in Phoenix.
Yeah, incredible. I mean, what an atmosphere, what a fight. Just one of those fights you kind of watch and you're looking around ringside and people, I was looking at Barry Jones and he was just like, it's just it's a fight fans fight. Would have done great numbers on DAZN, we saw in the arena, great crowd, but it was a real fight for the purist as well. We've seen the response since we made the fight and it delivered, full of action, thrills and spills, incredible drama and an unbelievable finish and performance from Jesse Rodriguez.
I think if there's one person that this fight is aimed at, it's Barry Jones, so a good one at looking over at him. Let's start at the top, work our way down. Bam Rodriguez, spectacular 7th round knockout win over Juan Francisco Estrada. Dominant for large parts of it, but did have to pick himself up off the canvas in the 6th round.
Yeah, that was a huge shock. I mean, I thought he dominated the fight. Estrada was always competitive. He's very active in the rounds, but the heavier shots were clearly causing damage to Estrada, wobbled him in, was it the 3rd or 2nd round? And even though the judge gave that round to Estrada, the Mexican judge, and looked after the knockdown to be on his way to potentially stopping him, and then switched off, straight right hand down the middle, dropped him, and then the fight looked like it might turn, but Jesse composed himself. I would have loved to seen a fight go down the stretch because Estrada's very good down the stretch. He closes fights very, very well. He's got an unbelievable engine, but the body shot was just a killer. No getting up from that. One of the fights of the year, one of the knockouts of the year as well. At 24 years of age, Jesse continues to rise up the pound-for-pound list, and I hope he gets the recognition he deserves.
Juan Francisco Estrada spoke in the immediate aftermath about the rematch clause. He said that he fully intends to invoke that. Obviously, Bam has his own aspirations of unifying the division against the Yoka Martinez winner. What do you think is most likely next? Is it a case of if Estrada invokes it, that's it?
Yeah, if we have to do the rematch, we'll do it. I mean, it's still a massive fight commercially. The unification fights are always a priority, but it takes two to tango. They've got to be willing to fight Bam. The numbers have got to make sense for them and for us, but Bam's kind of like hell-bent on unifying the division, becoming undisputed before he moves to 118. It's a shame, actually, that he never won a world championship at light fly because he was there for a while. But he's already a 2-division world champion. I see him being a 4 or 5-division world champion, but I'd like to see him try and unify the division. But we'll wait to hear from Estrada if he wants number 2.
Obviously, past the Estrada rematch, Ioka's Japanese. There's also Kosei Tanaka, the WBO champion, is Japanese. Up at bantamweight, all 4 champions are Japanese. Bam, obviously co-promoted with Tekken, Mr. Honda. Have you got any aspirations of going over to Japan, maybe doing a Matchroom Japan show?
Yeah, I mean, we've got Prize Fighter coming up in a couple of weeks, our first show over in Japan. But for sure, I mean, obviously the smaller weight classes are big business in Japan, and Bam is the top fighter outside of Inoue on the pound-for-pound list. So absolutely open to going to Japan. We're also building him well in America. I mean, I know Estrada had big support here, but so did Bam.
Great fight weeks here. They're brilliant.
And also, he's from San Antonio. He's not even from Phoenix. But they respect the lower weight classes. He's becoming a star here, and the atmosphere was incredible.
You mentioned there, Naoya, in a way, it's a name that's sort of floating around and attaching itself to Bam's recently. I kind of spoke in the post-op press conference, so it was very kind of played it down almost. But is that a potential? Is that something that you'd like to kind of foresee for the future?
I think it's a bit of a fantasy fight. I mean, probably in the same way that you talk about Inoue versus Tank. I think it's only a matter of time before Bam goes to 118 and 122. But I think their paths will probably miss each other unless Inoue stays around that weight class, because Bam was already too big for flyweight. It won't be long till he's too big for super flyweight. It'll be up at bantam. But I think probably unlikely, even though I'd love to see it.
Elsewhere on the card, Sonny Edwards made his return. I thought it boxed very, very well until the head clash caused an end to proceedings. Thought quite a harsh reaction from the crowd. They bay for blood here quite much, don't they?
It's quite funny. Like, if you box off the back foot, you are getting booed out of town here. So even in the Cardenas-Barrios fight, which I really enjoyed, as soon as Barrios was boxing off the back foot, they were going mad.
And he's from Phoenix.
I know. And so Sonny shouldn't be too disheartened. Horrific cut. And look, he won. I mean, I gave Curiel 1 round, even though the judges again had it like 57-55 or whatever it was, or 77-75. So yeah, he shouldn't be disheartened. Good win. against a former world champion in front of like a massively biased Mexican crowd. So I thought he was very brave taking the fight, and on he goes.
A lot of talk about the Yafai fight coming into this. Obviously, big cut down the middle of his forehead doesn't scream, quick turnaround for Mr. Edwards. But is that likely to be next? Is that likely to be in the next couple of fights?
I'd like to make that fight next. I think, with the cut, he won't be back till October, November. Actually, they've done a great job on it, but it's going to take, a decent amount of time to heal. But that's the fight we'd like to make. I think it's a great fight, and hopefully we can make that for the WBC World Title.
Final one for this card, Ramla Ali, unfortunately coming up short in her bid to become WBC Super Bantamweight champion.
How did you score it?
I had it even. I had a draw on 95-95. One round either way it was fair.
Like, for me, that's the kind of fight that it was. It was 96-94 either way, or a draw. Couldn't see really anything else. Like 98-92, I just don't. I find that impossible. These 2-minute rounds, they're really tough to score. It's like what you like. Mercado at times was the aggressor. She didn't really land a lot clean. Ramla took quite a few on the gloves, landed a lot of clean shots. But I thought she was unlucky not to get a piece of the decision tonight. And, hopefully we can look at another shot for her.
We've touched upon it on several instances throughout this interview about the scoring and some of the officiating tonight on the card. I mean, not to blame the Arizona State Commission, but a pretty bizarre night of officiating and judging, I felt.
Yeah, I mean, to have Estrada 2 points up. I mean, don't forget, that's not actually Arizona officials. That's international officials for that card. So we had one American, one Mexican, and one Canadian. So effectively neutral officials. The Mexican had Estrada 2 points up at the time of stoppage, which is quite unbelievable, to be honest with you. But and again, I didn't agree with the Ramla Ali scorecards. But Edwards, yeah, quite strange.
Last one, moving on next week. Johnny Fisher against Alan Babic. Not quite sure what to expect from that one. Something sort of like a cartoon-like war, I think, something like that.
Bloodbath. I mean, we're going to have close to 7,000 at the Copper Box, which is quite unbelievable, really. But obviously, Johnny's got a huge fan base. It's a good card, actually. Reece Bellotti against Levi Giles be a great fight for the British and Commonwealth. Maisie Rose is in a very tough fight. John Hedges' first title fight. Jimmy Sains, who won tonight. Bizioli, Laylee Buttigieg. So, yeah, looking forward to it. It'll be quite wild. And it's after the football, subject to England winning tomorrow. So it's going to be double lively. And then straight off back to Philly for Boots Ennis.
I'll see you next Saturday for Fisher Babic. Eddie, thanks very much for speaking to Boxing News. Catch up with you soon.
Bosh.
Cheers, mate.